Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into analyzing Bitcoin's long-term trends, discussing Ethereum's performance, and highlighting why I think XRP is currently one of the most compelling plays in the market right now. We will get right into it and get started with Bitcoin. I'm going to look at the 2-month chart here first, which has historically been a very, very reliable time to analyze long-term trends, especially with Bitcoin. The first thing I'd like to look at is the stochastic RSI and point out the consistency of this crossover, indicating the end of the bull market and the end of the bear market. As you can see right here, let me zoom out a little bit, here, 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 and here. And now we're right here. It's somewhat of a lagging indicator, but still provides a lot of value when spotting what timeframes we should be looking at for market tops. Now, I want to point out that we avoided at the last minute a bearish crossover around Trump's inauguration, which with another candle down would have printed a crossover. But that catalyst propelled Bitcoin to above 100K, postponing this crossover in these months. Now, I bring this up because whether we like it or not, Bitcoin needs to show strength soon to avoid slipping into this crossover in the coming months. Ideally, we'd like to see a strong close to February, maintaining momentum on this current 2-month chart. And at the very least, we need to see substantial gains in the coming months. If this doesn't happen, a bearish crossover becomes much more likely in the next 4 to 6 months. But as shown in 2017, we can be extended up here for some time and still maintain bullish momentum to the upside. In the short term, we have a simple moving average crossover on the daily chart, which ideally we would like to move above in the coming weeks. We additionally on the monthly chart, and this is that crossover right here. We additionally on the monthly chart would like to avoid this crossover, which would require some strength into the end of this month or a significant amount of strength into March and a close in March. And on a weekly chart, it would be also amazing if we could close above 1025 this week or next week. And I wouldn't be surprised if the way that this turns out is a brief capitulation or slide down to wipe out leveraged long positions for a bearish start of the week. And even today, with all the markets being closed, it makes sense. And then finish into strength at the end of this and have a short squeeze to the upside, as there's been a lot of shorts building up around 100K to start this last leg of the rally. Additionally, it's good to note that the DXY has been slipping, and that, which is you can see right here, which is always good for risk on assets, along with global liquidity that has been rising recently, which is always good for risk on assets like coin and altcoins as well. Now, where could Bitcoin be heading if we do pull out of this consolidation? Well, we have been encountering a significant amount of resistance around 100K and above. This is, of course, a natural psychological level, a round number that many traders focus on. But in addition to this, macro long-term patterns have hit their targets already, which we're going to get into and show here, which short-term to mid-term always requires consolidation and a reset of sentiment to load up for the next move. And for those new higher prices to ultimately be met with this newly constructed pattern. Now, the first long-term pattern I want to point out is this bull flag. I find consistency in using closes and not including capitulations in the market for trend lines. So if we take this base right here and then this bull flag right here, and you duplicate its base to the upside, roughly right next to each other, you can see that we practically got met right at the wick. The other way to look at this cycle's formation is in a cup and handle pattern, which if you take the cup's depth and structure, again, using closes and not taking into consideration capitulations, which by the way, just means they're brief or sometimes prolonged timeframes of extreme price action away from equilibrium, which are meant to shake out or trap buyers. And so getting back to this, if we duplicate its structure right here, which it would be up, the cup, the handle, you can see that these price targets have also been met, round equilibrium at around $98,000. Now, we are in a much needed consolidation zone, but have found an equilibrium at this trend line right here on the daily chart that you can see. Notice the equal and opposite reactions to either side. We had this above equilibrium, followed by almost the same length to the downside, followed by an upside, and almost the same length to the downside. Now we're just trending right below it. And I also want to show this strategy we just used in technical analysis to show last bull market. Towards the end of the cycle, we had, this is a close of red, so I'd use this as the beginning of this formation, which ends up being a bull flag. If we go here, you can kind of see it right here. You use closes, duplicate it roughly right there. And on the weekly chart is typically where I use the structure because it is much more consistent. So if we duplicate that, you can see it almost got hit perfectly. And anything above this just seemed to be traps. And then we had the flush down towards the end of the market. We did have, a double top rally later in the cycle. So that kind of begs the question, are we in distribution right now, given those wicks to the upside after those targets were met in the previous cycle, which we're kind of seeing here, if these are distribution as well? And I would answer that just due to the fact that euphoria has not truly set in, but saying, no, it is not the end of the cycle and we are going to see higher price action. Ultimately, that's what I expect, but we will see. However, we're on the clock because the move out of this current consolidation will tell us the answer, and there's a time component to when we need to see that happen within the 2-month charts analysis, as we have discussed previously in this video. Some other key indicators supporting a bullish case for crypto is that the Bitcoin dominance, I think, clearly topped out. And similar to how it did before our prior cycles, altcoin season, which would be very good for altcoins if we can see this play out as it did last cycle, which was kind of this, and this is on a smaller time frame, but if you see this trickle down into a regain of momentum with Bitcoin dominance, kind of followed by a dip lower and then a wick above all-time highs, followed by just just sliding straight down. And this is when you saw altcoins just go absolutely crazy. And similar to this, we had this long leg up like this. We had a wipeout, a resurgence, and then this last kind of final leg up above this all-time high previously in this cycle. And maybe, just maybe, I think we are going to see this start to fall, which would be very good for all altcoins. And the last thing we'll cover here that is promising to see, which would support this upcoming move for Bitcoin, is the stock market looks very strong on a weekly chart close of last week to actual all-time highs. This is just, you see a lot of increase in volatility, many green candles, close above all-time high on the weekly chart. This looks like it's ready to break out above this double top here as well, which would carry Bitcoin. It's typically good for the stock market, as it's kind of all the markets are in tandem and tied as just being risk on asset classes. Now, before moving on, keep in mind this could all be invalidated if we break below, but even if that occurs, I believe it would be one swing down met with an equal reaction to the upside into price discovery. And if that breakdown was prolonged down here, I would begin to be a bit worried. And either way, as insurance, we want to just keep an eye on the 2-month chart, close at the end of this month, and determine how we're looking from there. Now, I want to move on, but just keep in mind, as I just stated, everything I talk about after this point in the video is very dependent on the performance of Bitcoin and how we see that play out over the coming weeks. So for the next section of this video, we want to determine where is the best place to put our money. I honestly believe Bitcoin at its current price is too high. So I want to start off by answering that question by talking about Ethereum first. So between altcoins, the Ethereum trade has been growing in interest, leading some to predict a repeat of last cycle. However, I'm hesitant to see this play out, and I just want to point out a few key differences from past cycles. Firstly, I believe this pattern from a technical standpoint is a bit premature. This ascending triangle is quite evident, and it would leave too much space right now if we just saw it break out right here. There's just too much more that it needs to complete in my mind visually. However, I do want to consider that I may be looking at this wrong because I messed around with this chart a little bit, and when taking into consideration the capitulations and moving around this trend line, you can see that this would look a lot better. If we can jump back into this trend line and break out above that, this would look a lot more mature and ready to actually meet its targets on this new structure of around $8,000. And you can see how it's broken below with great strength and then bounced around in here, come up, retest it on both this side as well as this side, hold it, run up to this level right here of resistance, and then come back down in an aggressive manner, consolidate in here, jump right back into this trend zone, respect this line once more, and you just saw that happen again. So maybe if we can break above this zone right here and jump back into here, it would look a lot more bullish as an ascending triangle here. The second thing I want to talk about is everyone is talking about world liberty buying Ethereum. But if everyone knows that information, I don't understand the edge in that narrative. If they were front running projects, they wouldn't make things visible for everyone to see so easily. But if they have intended to lead people in the wrong directions by intentionally making this information visible, it seems like they have succeeded so far as it continues to underperform, yet the narrative continues to build. Not saying that they are going to dump a ton of money into something they're going to see crash. I think Ethereum is near its bottom anyway, if the market is to turn to its upside, but I'm not sure if it's ready to have that massive rally that everyone is expecting here into price discovery. And they may be, leading the masses away from the true opportunity we're going to get to here shortly. And one of the next key parts I want to discuss in regards to Ethereum, which is crucial to every factor of the crypto market, is attention. Attention to a certain degree is finite, and it's limited in supply based on how many participants are in the market. And within the cryptocurrency, space, many are struggling to gain and more importantly, maintain attention. And I'm talking about each crypto. We're seeing a dilution of capital and interest to each individual project. And although Ethereum has held onto a certain degree of attention, many investors have gone elsewhere. If I tell you to look here and then look here, you have to take your eyes off the first thing to look at the second. I've always called this the diversion of attention. And this is the same theory that applies to meme coins, especially, and AI coins in this cycle, and why it's getting harder to make money on memes for longer term holds. They have a diminishing amount of loyal attention, which, keep in mind, community and loyal attention is all that meme coins are valued off of. And an infinite amount of projects are getting created in memes and even AI, and these particular investors constantly jump from one to the other to chase quick gains. There's simply an overall dilution in attention right now. But making our way back to Ethereum, I think the reason Ethereum has similarly struggled to gain the necessary attention and ultimately buying pressure to break into all-time highs is there is a much grander play in the market this cycle, which wasn't here last cycle when Ethereum did its massive move. And that is the return of XRP and its counterparts. ISO-22 tokens, RWA tokens like XLM, HBAR, XDC, and many more. This cycle, we've seen something unique. XRP has been breaking out before Ethereum after consolidating for 7 years. XRP didn't do much last cycle, and it's been heavily suppressed for some time. But the floodgates are out, and it's taking up market share in regards to attention, which ultimately does hurt Ethereum a bit, being the largest two cryptos after Bitcoin. And furthermore, talking about attention, it has not only gained and maintained strong retail attention, but it also has institutional investors and banks' attention, which is the key difference of this cycle compared to the last bull market. So there are many more banks and institutions involved. So that brings me to my core point. I'm focusing on XRP and a few other select alt related to it over anything else in the market on this last leg up I foresee coming in the following months. So let's slowly dive into why XRP stands out among the large cap altcoins to me. Well, again, it has one of the most dedicated and loyal communities that I've found, or in other words, attention, and word of mouth support is incredibly strong as well, which I've seen firsthand. To get a good gauge on this in new investors, you have to be observant of new investors and what they get exposed to as they enter the market first. Almost every person that has come to me with questions and advice on how to navigate the crypto space this cycle has mentioned XRP first and shown significant interest. Another reason in support of XRP and utility plays in general is, unlike meme coins or some AI tokens, which face low barriers to entry, which opens up opportunity for more competitors and dilution of attention, and therefore fragile attention, XRP has a long history and established presence in partnerships and infrastructure. They have 1,500 employees almost. You can't just create a company like XRP and Ripple overnight. I just want to reiterate that the banks are showing a lot of interest in XRP and real world asset tokenization in general, which is very bullish. And we've even seen, the Made in America token list which includes XRP, which could lead to favorable tax incentives as well. Trump, in addition to this, has met with Brad Garlinghouse personally. There's a ton going for XRP fundamentally, but the technicals are also just incredibly bullish from my point of view. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but looking at your cryptos comparatively priced in BTC is very important, and I don't see many retail investors doing that as they enter the market. There is a lot of edge in looking at these versus it priced in the US dollar. After 7 years of price consolidation, we bottomed out here on the BTC chart and actually made a resurgence back into equilibrium, it seems. We kind of had this breakdown and then we jumped right back into this trend line, and we're kind of getting squeezed in here, but I just want to note this major trend line right here that we haven't broken out and we entered into in 2019. I think XRP is poised to break out into true price discovery as Bitcoin makes its final moves, historically speaking, is how XRP has made its way from sub pennies to over $3 in 2017. And when XRP breaks out, it is fast and very aggressive. And if XRP is everything its investors think it is, the banks think it is, and the institutions, all those that are involved are going to let this play out. This 7 year pattern of suppression that has been just going on and on to its fullest potential. And the floodgates have finally opened up after so much suppression. Every action is followed by an equal and opposite reaction in this market. There are certain laws that this market somewhat abides by. And this is the beginning of that reaction. And the attention that XRP will obtain from the rest of the market will continue to grow as I see price targets of $13 to $15 being in play, and potentially much higher as Bitcoin begins to make its final moves of this bull market. If we can just get above and close on some monthly charts here in the 2 month chart, which we have a lot of momentum in this crossover, we can make our way hopefully up to here, this bull market. And you can see that the trend is your friend in this market. And we're already near all-time highs. Ethereum really isn't as close as XRP is. So I think the first one to really go into price discovery and for everything to get into a euphoric state, XRP is going to be one of the first, as it's even shown strength in the coming weeks here, as you know, Bitcoin has just been stagnating and kind of consolidating here more. We're kind of forming an ascending triangle here. I would consider this a trap, but even above to this side right here, as we ran up and crashed back down and then made, the same kind of flush down to the size that we did to the upside here. And now we've kind of re-entered this pattern right here. We sat in here in equilibrium, kind of like Bitcoin is right now, and then broke above. I just see this, as a really strong technical chart. So to bring things to an end, I want to reiterate that I believe Bitcoin dominance is exhausted, which means altcoins could easily be right around the corner for a big move. And although I do think XRP and Ethereum could gain market share together over Bitcoin, I see XRP as the better play right now, and its beta plays within the ISO-22 and RWA narrative. So I'm holding XLM, which follows in tangent with XRP and outperforms it historically speaking, HBAR, and XDC, which I believe XDC is also a really good buying opportunity right now, not only on this kind of double top that we're forming on a weekly chart that we could break above. Look how it runs when it breaks this kind of cup and handle formation from down here to all the way up this way. Same thing for XRP and HBAR and XLM. They're kind of forming a similar pattern just due to XRP's formation. However, on the XDC BTC chart too, we're kind of in this pinpoint right here. And if we can push above this and get some weekly green candles above right here, we're looking good to maybe even come up here and test these highs. So all of these tokens, I think, have a lot of potential on the BTC pair chart, which has just been so suppressed for the last 7 years, really. I also want to mention, if we see a bearish pause this summer as participants exit the market by the end of May, I'd say, and we are followed by a resurgence in altcoins and Bitcoin for a double top or final breakout with Bitcoin to end the market, I do want to say that I think Ethereum and Ethereum-based coins could be the next place I add positions after this anticipated XRP move, but we'll see how it plays out. It would be a clear indicator of the top of the market with the narrative of meme coins just being full degen and having a huge run to signify the market top, similar to the NFT craze last bull market. But we'll have to wait and see, and see how things develop one target at a time. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and stay smart and stay patient in this market. Cheers.